Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time if you are new. My name is Ella, and in this video I'm going to be talking through what I take into school for English Lit. So this is how I organise this mound of paperwork into some sort of chronological order. That means that I'm not going insane every time I try and find a sheet of paper in here. So I've just filmed my maths one, so if you're wondering how to organise your maths or further maths folders, then please check that video out. But this is specifically for English Lit, and it's also like my school has kind of guided me as how they want me to organise my folder. But like I said in my previous video, I really like how they've asked me to do it, so I thought I'd share it with you. So basically, first of all, got this from WH Smith, 3 for 2 I think it was. Great. This was in the summer though, so I don't know whether that deal's still on, but it's like a teal ring binder. Well, like one of the middle ones. So my maths ones are the small ones, just the smallest folders you can get. These are in between a small folder and like the ring binder, because obviously they don't have the lever arch, but they are still pretty big. They can fit a lot of stuff in there, and I don't really want anything bigger than this to take in because it's already quite hefty. Right now I only have one folder for English. Like I said in my maths one, I have one for school and one for home for maths, but for English right now I only have one. So this is literally all of my English work so far. I think I've done well to condense it down to this much, to be honest. So first thing, when you open this folder up, the first thing you'll see is on the side I've just got like a post-it note here with my name, my subject, and my teachers, just in case for some stupid reason I lose it. People know where to hand it into, so yeah, pretty good. And I really don't want to write on this folder yet. I feel like I haven't committed to having this folder purely for English because I've already switched my maths ones. So yeah, we'll see how long that goes. But once I've confirmed that this is my English folder, I might write it on the spine just for ease of use, I suppose, because that post-it note is bound to get lost very, very soon. First thing is my notepad. This is just a pucker pad lined notepad. I bought this on Amazon, like they were in bundles of 3, and it's obviously got the spiral bound, and then when you open it up, normal lined paper with a margin, and then it's got perforated sides down the edge. So what I can do is just rip it out without the frayed side from the spiral bound, and then just put it in my folder straight away. It's also already hole punched, so that saves the process of hole punching it all at home. And the first thing you'll see when you actually look into my folder is these mind maps. So they're gone a bit like blinding from the light, and my teacher had asked us to fill in this grid of all of the like time periods and some context for it. And I decided to make them on mind maps just to make it a bit easier, because I found that the grid was just getting really, really long on Word, and it just didn't look right for me. So I turned them into mind maps, and I have put this on my Instagram, but I will, if you want, to go through how I make my mind maps. Jesus, that was a tongue twister. But basically I've just got one for each. So I've got like Renaissance at the front. They are basically in chronological order. So the first one is the earliest time period, and then the last one is postmodernism, which is the latest. And then we've just got some sheets that our teacher gave us about the different types of love, because our topic is love through the ages. And then a brainstorm from I think our very first lesson, which is types of love. Basically this is just stuff that applies to all of the text. So if you're studying English Lit, you know that our syllabus is broken down into different texts. So this kind of stuff is useful for everything, and I didn't want to like stick it in one divider, so it goes at the front. I then have a little plastic wallet after that with some flashcards in. I'm yet to fully use these yet, but they are kind of like my poetry revision right now. Now onto the dividers. So like in my maths folders, I have these paper dividers, and I said for some reason I just had a ton of these lying around. So once again, I would recommend plastic ones over paper ones, just because these rip quite easily. But yeah, because I have so many paper ones, I just thought I'd use these up, and then I've got spares, like tons at the back. So the first one is assessments, basically all of the tests that I've done so far, really. The next bit is course admin and examination, like examples. So this is just where I think our very first lesson we had like a PowerPoint, where we went through like exactly what we're going to be doing this year. And then I've also got folder check forms. I'm not going to show you them because they've got my school logo on. Basically it's like a table, and the teacher ticks when they've checked that my folder's organised. There we go. Pretty self-explanatory. Then I have in that course admin my assessment objectives. So they are nice and bold right at the front of my folder so that I don't forget them. And then I've just got some typed up examples of some work that have got pretty high marks for right now. Now we got onto the text. So the first one that I've got here is Othello. So this has got this blue divider. I'm going to knock this bubble off in a minute. So with each of my text like dividers, the first thing you'll see is the actual text that I'm studying. So this is the script for Othello. So this is the first page. Just because this is the thing that I use most often in lessons, so it's the most easily accessible. And then after that, I've got a scene summary for Othello. I made a context grid on Word and then printed it out and like made it all color coded and stuff. So this is again a task that our teacher set, but it's just more context that's specific to Othello. So any context that's not specific to a text goes at the front, and then stuff that's specific to the text, I'm gonna stop saying specific, goes in their designated divider. Basically, the closer it is to the divider of that subject, the more important it is. So the most important is obviously the script, so that's at the front, and now I've got the plot summary and then just my general class notes there. So these class notes are in chronological order, so the latest one is at the back, just because that is like my exercise book in a sense. And then I've got these like a ripped up post-it note because I didn't have any markers on me. So these are just like areas that I want to type up into notes. So basically what I'm going to do is, because this folder is getting quite hefty, I'm going to type up all of the key notes, which actually isn't that much because we do a lot of our notes on our scripts. And then that'll obviously condense it down, and then I can move these exercises into a separate folder at home. At the back of every subject text, I've got a Polly Pocket with any stuff that isn't hole punched. So here is my key quote bank. I want to hole punch that and then put it near the front of the divider, but for now it's in the Polly Pocket. The next divider is unseen poetry, but we haven't done anything on that, so that's empty. And then it's atonement. On each of the labels I've written the paper that it's in and then the text. So this is paper 1, atonement. So each of those is there. Once again, look at that. A divider is already broken. That needs replacing. Lovely. For atonement, we don't have like a printed text like we do for Othello. It's like we've got a script for Othello. For atonement, I have the actual book because we are allowed the book in the exam. I want to get used to using the book. As you can see, I have a lot of things in here, and I'll run through that in a second. But at the front of my atonement like piece of the folder is my atonement chapter summary. So you'll see that in a lot. Well, I will do these for a lot of my texts because they are great for just when you want to know exactly what happens at a certain point. That's where you go. After that, I've just got class notes, and then at the back I have printouts. So my teachers print out extracts that we're going to be working on in that lesson. So I've got these all at the back, and I'm actually in the process of copying these into my book so it's all in one place. So I've done all of them, and I've just got the ones to do that are in the Polly Pocket at the back. And then I said I'd run through this quickly. This is my atonement book. Obviously at the top I've got part 1, part 2, part 3, and then epilogue, which is how the book is separated, and then down the side key scenes. We haven't finished going through this. We're learning poetry alongside atonement because we have to compare them in the exam. So we just learn the necessary extracts for those poems. So that's why the end of the book isn't really touched on yet. I also recommend these. They're like acetate instead of paper markers because they don't get dog-eared. So I can literally bend these and they just spring right back. The next divider is again paper 1, and then it's pre-1900 poetry. I swear that bauble is gonna be so annoying. Okay, and then at the front of here I have, this is like a comparison sheet that our teachers make us. So it's like comparing different poems, how we can like compare the themes. That was done a while ago, so I could probably do some more on that now. Then I have an article that our teacher printed out, and you can see it's like highlighted. So this is like Love in Literature, it's called. And because it didn't relate to one specific poem, I put it before I separated my work into poems. And then here is where I have the notes specific to poems. So down the side, each one has is designated to a different poem. It's only like a sheet for each, maybe 2. So there's the flea, his coy mistress. Basically just work that we did, like notes that I took in the lesson that is specific to a poem. I put a tag on there. Although what I've started doing now is writing my notes straight in my anthology because we're going to get a new one anyway. So at the back of my poetry section, I've got the Polly Pocket with my poetry anthology in. what we've got right now is a photocopied version, so like basically just a booklet with all the poems in, and then once we've like completely gone through that, they're going to give us a proper version, which we think it can then like condense our notes into, which I think is a really good idea. So if we're looking at La Belle Dame, for example, this is all of the notes on that poem. Now, I know I've got tiny handwriting, but still, that is a lot of writing. So I've even got post-it notes with extra stuff, so when we get our like proper anthologies, I can just copy that in and condense my information, because there's a lot of stuff that might be repeated or maybe just isn't that strong of a point. I can maybe make this into like distinct points throughout, so it's easier to remember for my exam. But obviously I can't hole punch that because I've got notes that literally go right up to the edge, so that goes in the Polly Pocket. And then after that I've just got some dividers at the end, so I've got all paper 2 stuff, which we'll be doing next year. So paper 2, streetcar, what's that, Handmaid's Tale, and then feminine gospel. So those have each got their own dividers, and when I start going through them, they'll start getting put in there as well. Then I've got some spare Polly Pockets, because you never know when you're going to need them. Honestly, they're a lifesaver. If you ever get given stuff that isn't hole punched, you don't need to worry about hole punching it or losing it because it's loose. Then I told you I have a lot of dividers. I think I've got about, I don't even know. I've got a lot at the back, basically just spares, because as you already saw, my atonement one is ripped. So yeah, I said that this is obviously my only folder for English, but as I'm starting to type up my notes, I'm going to move the written versions into another folder, because I won't need them anymore, because I've got the typed condensed versions in the folder, and that'll obviously make it a lot lighter and a lot smaller and a lot easier to handle. And that'll also help me with my revision, because although I've got the Christmas holidays coming up, I've got an assessment next week. Yay, last English lesson of the term, and I'm doing an assessment. Lovely. And then next week I've got more assessments coming up. Obviously we're in A-levels, we always get tested. So I hope this has been useful for you. If you're struggling on how to organise your life, then maybe this might help. The Christmas holidays is an ideal time to get it all sorted, ready for the new year, so that you can hit the ground running when it comes to January. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'm pretty sure I've already just said that. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you in the next video. Bye! Yeah, there we go. Just hit myself in the face.